Students, in the last class we have discussed about what are the laws, energies laws are plays an important role, and what is the theory of the size reduction processes, and the laws, energy laws like Higgs law, Rittenjus law that we have discussed. Today we'll see the factors affecting the size reductions. There are the factors we should consider, factors related to the material, and factors related to which we are going to be size reduced, and in equipment which are to be used for the size reduction. So on respect of that, we will see some of the factors. The majorly the nature of the component is matters here. We'll see one by one. So this is what the factor affecting size reduction is. First thing is hardness. See, hardness, the material were always difficult to break down. That is the main problem. So that hardness of the material impact, the equipment should have an impact nature, like a ball mill we can use for the size reduction. Now that is the one of the process. And another thing is the toughness in the sense, we have mentioned like fibrous drugs. So fibrous drugs means, you can see, even by impacting, the breakdown will not take place layer by layer. It may be cut, but it will be not get breakdown by impact factor. So we need to do it cutting process. So cut is the best option for toughness. The fibrous material will have a more strength. It is required more strength, even though you will apply more strength by impacting, not works properly, and rather than that, by cutting in a way is much better for this toughness. Toughness can be how we can reduce by lowering the temperature is the most one, then so can it will becomes little bit smooth. And why the advantages of this will needs to less decomposition is also there, thermolable material, and no loss of volatile material is possible, no oxidation, no explosions. Stickiness is one of the biggest problem in case of size reduction. When we are going for size reduction, if there will be a stickiness, it is very difficult for size reduction process. It will be stick to, and the equipment which is go for, there is no further, the material will be go with the hammer, or it will not get proper impact, or it may not get attrition, or it may not get cut properly. So this is leads to very difficulty in size reduction process if it will have an stickiness. A material may stick to the surface, or maybe get chopped. And solution we need to do, either dry it properly, or we can add any material like choline to sulfur, or gums and resinous materials we can use. So can the google these are the which is sticking components that we can be avoided by adding choline and all. Slipperiness is also the biggest issue for the size reduction. If there is a slipperiness, no proper energy will impact, or it may get attrited to a particular particle. So it will get slip means no energy is directly proportional to size reduction process will takes place. So that we can be avoided by lubricating it properly. Then moisture content is also an matters. So based on moisture content only, hardness, toughness and stickiness will exist. So if it is less than 5%, we can use this dry grinding process is always better. And more than 50%, then we will go for wet grinding process. Melting or softening of point is heat generated when we will be go for any process of size reduction. First you can take an example of ball mill, as we have done in practical. You have seen when it will rotates, the ball will fall. So during this rotation, what happens, the heat will generated. If any material will have an melting point of room temperature, on that case size reduction of that material, heat will be liberates, leads to what, degradation of the material will takes place, or it will be stick, or it will be decomposed due to heat, like especially this camphor, thymol, stearic acid, waxes, fats and resins. They are all will facing with this problems. Next is the material structure is also matter. Obviously, for to reduce the size, spherical will always better than the rectangular. So structure is always a matter. Abrasiveness is one of the biggest problem. If the abrasives there in the equipment, then what happens? The material will fill that abrasives and it will not go for a size reduction. When there is a not proper energy will fall on the material, and which may leads to what? There is a sticky of that at the abrasives, the particle will remains and no size reduction. Next, size of the starting material is always matters, as we have discussed in the theory of energy. How the size is matters. Based on the size, surface area, crack length, the reduction, size reduction, what energy is required. We have already discussed this. And the next thing is quantity of material to be reduced is matters. If it is in a bulk, only less amount of energy is applied in the equipment will not works. So energy to an all the particles distribute uniformly will get an reduced size of the particle uniformly. So quantity is always a matter. Quantity with respective of apply energy will leads to a good size reduction process. And also shape is matters. Flow and bulk density of the product, like how quantity is matters, flow is also matters. Flow with related to, as we have discussed, when flow is proper, the strength energy applied in the equipment will works accurately, and reduction is also takes place exactly. If flow property will have a problem, stick somewhere, it will be somewhere, it will come, it will flow slowly, then size reduction is also get impaired. So these are the factors, and some of the factors like ratio of food size to product size will be matters. Formulation aspect, what are the different formulations, and based on that size reductions will consider. Pills are there, powders in suspension and in mixture, fine powders, suspensions which to be injected are very fine powder it should have. So these are all the, if it is pills, size reduction will be in one type, we will be go. Whether it is a suspension, you know the size of the suspension particle dispersed in a suspension is around 2 micro 0.2 micrometer to 5 micrometers. So in this it will vary. So we can see the suspension either for orally or for injection. If it is for injection, it will be even fine powder. So that is all dependent. Then extraction process, physical character of the drug will matters. Or like soft drug, if it is fresh sliced, it has to be crushed. If it is hard drug, then we can coarse to moderately coarse. And if solubility is considered, if constituents are less soluble, fine powder, we will get. Localization of drug constituent is also matter for the extraction purpose. And what the solvent menstruum is used for the process of size reduction is also matters. Like if it is a water, it is always more expansion of vegetable tissue and penetrates easily, so we can get easily the size reduction. And if organic properties, organic solvents like alcohol we will use, it will harden the vegetable drug tissues, and so penetration is low and we'll get a fine powder. And drug related, menstruations large, so in that menstruum, if it is a large coarse powder we can expect, if it is small then we can expect a fine powder. Process, infusion and decoction is, you know, all this you have studied, what is infusion is, what is decoction is, what is percolation is, what is maceration. So they are all nothing but extraction process. So with that we can also go for an size reduction. Next is the mechanism of size reduction. This is all we have discussed already. There are basically few mechanism flaws required for the size reduction, and the crack length is matter for the size reduction, and the particle size, the surface area of the particles will all based on that energy is required for the breakdown of the material by size reduction process is considered. So first opening up of any small fissures is called nothing but cracks, that will be takes place with the flaws which already present, and secondly formed new surfaces is always matters. Large particle with several cracks, obviously it will get breakdown fast. If small particle is there, very less crackers, then the breakdown it will need more energy for its size reduction process. So this is what the mechanism of size reduction will always have includes, and if consist of two parts, first opening up any small fissures which are already present, and secondly formation of new surface. So this is all will be you can understood properly as I have explained in theory. So these four are the main mechanism involved in size reduction. You should remember it properly. How can we will be reduce the size of an particle? There are be these process. One is cutting, or by compression, or by impact, or by attrition. You should remember these are the main methods affecting of size reduction. The mechanism how we can reduce the size, either by cutting, we are slicing a part, like this is as I told in the discussed previously in case of factor which influence size reduction. For example, fibrous material, it is always better than any other option. From here cutting is the best option. So if we will cut it in a proper equipment, there is a size reduction is easily we can achieve. Compression is another way where we will by brushing we will compress in between an two the equipments or the material forcibly applied in between them, the material to be reduced will be placed, so can it will be get compressed and size reduction will be takes place. Next is impact. Impact we can achieve by any way. Hammer are there, hammer mill are there, where hammers are continuously fall on the material. This fall is introduce an impact on the material. By impacting, the energy required for impacting will fall on the some particle and it may get be breakdown. So that is an impact process. Attrition means it will be when two heavy materials or any two roller in between the two roller or in between the particle movement, the extraction attrition process will takes place and it leads towards size reduction. So moving of one heavy material with another particle, friction of that is nothing but an accretion process. So this is what some of the mechanism involved in the size reduction of the particles. So in the next class, you have studied today what is the factors influence the size reduction and what is the mechanism of size reduction. In the next class, we'll see different equipments used for size reduction. Thank you.